All signals are a go. In my 15 plus years of doing card magic, one of the most difficult moves I've ever learned is the one-handed shuffle. When I first started handling cards, I thought one of the coolest things would have been being able to cut the deck with one hand. Like that sounds pretty awesome. And I had the most difficult time learning the Charlier cut. But since then, I learned the scissor cut, the revolution cut, the one-handed triple cut. There's so many things that you can just do with one hand. And I remember thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could do a shuffle with just one hand? And at this point, I already knew how to do like the riffle shuffle, you riffle the cards together, do the bridge, it looks pretty awesome. But I wanted to do something similar with one hand, and I had no idea if that was even possible. So I went online at the time, and I saw a tutorial that taught the one-handed shuffle, but for some reason I couldn't find it, so I can't link it in this video. And I thought it was the hardest thing I have ever tried to learn. It took me 4 months of almost daily practice to get that move down. Like I would be sitting at work, just doing the one-handed riffle shuffle and having cards flop everywhere. It was insane. I don't know how anyone ever came up with this. So from all my struggles, I'm gonna share with you the secrets to the one-handed shuffle. What up crew, hope you're doing well. In today's video, I wanna not only cover the tutorial for the one-handed shuffle, but also talk about the journey that I went through while learning this move. And the reason I wanna share my journey with you is not because I wanna talk about myself, but because I know how easy it is just to give up on learning a very difficult move. So giving you the perspective of how much I sucked while learning this will hopefully motivate you to learn this yourself. That being said, get your decks out, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and now, let's do it. Alright, so the one-handed riffle shuffle. I never thought I'd actually be teaching this on my YouTube channel, but I know a lot of people requested it. By a lot, I mean like 3. But regardless, it's such a beautiful move that I just have to share it with you guys. So a couple of things I'd like to say before starting off with this video. I would recommend you getting comfortable with one-handed cuts before even proceeding, because if you can't do a one-handed cut, this is not going to be a walk in the park, because it's going to be tough. Just trust me on that, it's going to be tough. So I'd recommend learning a couple of one-handed cuts like the Charlier cut or the Revolution cut, and just be able to, or just be comfortable handling the deck with one hand. And once you've got that down, then now let's go ahead and begin. So before I even get into the mechanics of this move, one thing I want to talk about is the deck. So what I've seen is, depending on the deck you're using, whether the cards are, by USPCC or Epic Playing Cards, whatever it is, you want to experiment and see if the deck fares better with the cards face down like this, or the cards face up like this. With USPCC, it's more of a classic cut versus a traditional cut. So depending on what deck you're using, it may be easier to fare the cards in one way versus the other way. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind when choosing the deck you're using, or even experimenting with the deck before actually doing this move. So now let's say you're comfortable with one-handed cuts and have chosen the right deck for yourself. Let's go ahead and actually get into the mechanics. I know with the Alex Pandrea X deck, the cards fare together better if they're face up like this. So position the cards in the way that you think fare better. And now the next thing you want to do is get into the correct grip. So the grip you're going to be going into is the elevated straddle grip. And in this grip, you're going to be holding the cards in your non-dominant hand. For me, that's my left hand. So if you're doing this with your right hand, just mirror everything that I'm doing. Index finger on top, index finger will be on top for either hand. Pinky finger on bottom, pinky finger will also be on bottom for either hand. My thumb is on the left-hand side since I'm holding the deck in my left hand. My ring finger and middle finger are on the right-hand side since I'm holding the deck in my left hand. And if I was doing this grip in my right hand, it would look like this. All right, so here we have the grip. From the grip, this move is broken down into 3 different sections. Section number 1 is the split. Section number 2 is the weave, which looks like that. And section number 3 is the actual riffle, or the actual shuffle or bridge itself. So I'm going to break down each one of those areas. I would say the first area is probably, I guess, one of the most important, or in order of 1, 2, or 3, right? The first area of the split, that's from 1, 2, and 3, that's ranked number 2. The weave is the most difficult thing, so I would say that's ranked number 1 in difficulty, or number 3. How am I doing the system? All right, let's say the riffling aspect is the easiest part of this whole thing. The, I guess, intermediate aspect is doing the split and lining it up. And the most difficult aspect, which took me the longest time to get down, is the actual farrowing of the cards and actually getting them into each other. So I'm gonna break all this down and just hope you're ready. Let's do it. So first things first, the deck split. You want to ensure that you're cutting the deck as close to halfway as possible. It doesn't always have to be exactly halfway, but I guess if you're doing this for more of a Pharaoh type effect, then you want halfway. But if you're just doing this for shuffling purposes, as close to halfway as possible is completely fine. So you're going to be using your index finger, right? You're holding the deck like this in a straddle grip. You're going to move over with your index finger here, break off a packet of cards, and you want to make sure that it's approximately half. It doesn't have to be exactly, but approximately half. You break it off with your index finger looking like so. Now, you want to make sure your hand is not tilted up like this, but it's tilted down. So the palm of your hand is facing in the right direction if you're holding the cards in your left hand. And of course, the opposite is true if you're holding the cards in your right hand. So again, you break it holding this down. And the reason we're holding this down is because these fingers, the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger, will help guide this whole packet in the downwards direction. And it's not going to be completely straight down like this. You want it a bit at an angle. This way, when the cards go down here, they don't fall out from that direction. So they're kind of held like this. Let me remove this packet here. They're kind of held like this. So let's get there one more time. You break this packet and you're pulling this down. And you want to keep on stretching. And this is where super small hands, this will be a bit more difficult. But you want to keep on stretching this out until you have one packet on one side of your index finger and the other packet on the other side of your index finger. So this is how it's roughly looking like. Again, this is not completely exact. I'll redo that. But you have one packet on one side, your middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, and index finger. That's how the original, I guess, top half is held. And the other side is just held by the index finger and thumb. And you want to ensure that you're able to pivot this packet like this, because that is what you'll be using in the weave step. So let's do that one more time, but this time we're going to focus on getting the bottom corners to line up. And this is really where I had a lot of difficulty when learning this move. Doing this split for me wasn't too difficult here. Stretching it out here when my hands were smaller was a bit tough, but eventually it got easier as I just kind of held this position. So if you feel like your hand is not big enough, just hold this position honestly and just continue the rest of your day. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. I'm telling you right now, it is going to be very uncomfortable. But the more comfortable you get with this position, the easier it'll be for you to get back here. All right, so that's the first place where I struggled just getting into this grip. Now, the next thing you want to do is be able to line up the bottom of these packets. It's coming out a bit blurry. Let me clear that up. So like I said, the next thing you want to be able to do is line up the bottom of these packets. And once you get in the right position, the cards will almost automatically start to Pharaoh. But when you're starting this off, they definitely will not Pharaoh this easily. It took me a very long time to get this level of Pharaohing. Like, I think about a year until I got to this point. So once these cards are Pharaohed is when everything becomes much easier. But the question is, how do we get to this Pharaohed point? So let's say you've done a lot of practicing and you're comfortable getting to this position here. Now the question is, how are you actually going to Pharaoh the cards together? What I initially started with was just brute force. So I literally just took the cards and just started smashing them together like this. And I'm going to tell you, this was, I guess, eventually it ended up working out, but it was not a very effective way to actually do this move because I guess a couple of things happened. Both sides of my index finger were badly bruised. Like this side was close to getting like a purplish color. This side was like a purplish bluish color, and I had scrapes all over my index finger. So this finger took a lot of damage while learning this move, and that's mainly because I stood here like this and I tried smashing this together, which exerted a lot of force on my index finger. So that's the brute force method is something you can do, but I honestly think it's a lot more hassle, a lot more painful than what I'm about to share with you. So here's the secret on getting the cards weaved nicely. As you can see, I break this apart. You want to ensure the cards are lined up at an angle, right? So they're not completely straight like this, or let me see if I can show you better. They're not completely straight like this, otherwise they're just not going to Pharaoh into each other, and that's the brute force approach, which ruins the cards, hurts your finger, and it's bad all around. So what you want to do is you want to take an angled approach. So let me break the cards one more time, get into this position, and you'll see that I have the cards angled upwards, right? So this deck is angled up, this is angled up. So when I'm pushing them together, they Pharaoh much more easily. Let's do that one more time. So we're here, we break the packet, let that slide down, and we're going to take an angled approach. Again, angled approach, the cards will Pharaoh much easier. Again, it's not perfect, a little difficult to do with this angle on camera. but you want to take the angled approach, and that'll make the Pharaoh a bit easier for you. In the beginning, you may have to go back and forth a little bit with your thumb here to adjust, but eventually you will get to this point where the cards are weaving together nicely. Of course, that was a bad weave. Let me show you a better one. Here we go. And I guess that's a bit of a better Pharaoh than I did the first time around. So again, like I mentioned, this took me months to get down, right? Because I took the brute force method approach. But I guarantee you, if you take more of that angled approach, with I guess a little bit of help from your thumb in terms of pushing the cards together, there will be a lot less breakage with the playing cards, and your index finger will be intact. Because trust me, you do not want to be where I was. It was not nice. So anyway, once you've gotten to this position, you've gotten the break, you've gotten the weave, and now the next part is to get the cards together and actually do the shuffle. And this is, like I said, the easiest part. What you're going to do is you're going to release. You're going to let this packet kind of drop into the palm of your hand. Right, so let this packet drop in the palm of your hand. Your middle finger is going to go up here. Your index finger is going to go out as well, like this. And your thumb, your thumb and ring finger, pinky finger are going to push both these packets together, looking like this. And once they're like this, you're going to use your index finger and your middle finger to kind of press down like this. Here, your pinky finger, ring finger, thumb are going to curl in the cards like so. And when you release with your index finger, middle finger, you'll see the cards will start to Pharaoh, or not start to Pharaoh, they'll start to bridge together. Originally, when I started doing this, right, I split, I weave the cards together. I did the shuffle just from this position, so I did this and I started doing that. Now, while that works, I don't think that's an efficient method because it didn't always work out for me. Because there's a lot of, I guess, space in, like, when you're here, right, the cards are kind of tilted. When you're doing a normal riffle shuffle with the bridge, the cards are straight, like, head on. They're not at an angle like this. So yeah, while this still works, one, it bends your cards in a weird way, and they also don't end very aligned. So to kind of avoid that problem, you want to just, again, do the split, Pharaoh, press it into each other, make sure everything is straight, press down here, here as well, and there you have the one-handed riffle shuffle. I don't know why I keep saying riffle shuffle, but there you have the one-handed shuffle. Now, the one-handed Pharaoh aspect of this move comes in handy in like many other cardistry moves, like the one-handed cascade. That looks pretty awesome. So I highly recommend you to learn this move because not only does it feel great in your hands, but you will impress anyone. Anyone who sees you doing that move in public, with your friends, family, whatever it is, you will turn heads. People will be rubbernecking for you. And there you have it, one of the most difficult moves I have ever learned. Thanks so much for spending your time with me today. If you want to check out some more content on my channel, you can click on that video right there. If not, you know, that's cool too. Have a great day ahead, and I hope to see you in my next video.